Individual male. How about a family, right? What would you expect?
Family's probably going to be anywhere between
Let's say a family of three, maybe,
family of three.
and maybe like 30 to 40 years old. Maybe say 35-ish.
So also at the same time, we have to take into account that when you're on an individual basis, it costs a little bit more. But when you start adding someone, the price actually ends up being a little bit different. So when you have someone who's the male who's 24, it's 240, for example, and then the woman's 340. You don't just add those together and it's going to be like $600. They're gonna, once that's actually on the policy together, it actually might be around $400.
You get a discount for sure.
Yep. But when you start adding about kids and stuff into that, circumstance, it's about, what did you say, about 80 to 120 per kid. So if you're doing that for just a family of three, it's probably going to be around about $350, anywhere between $350 to about $600 just for a start plan. And then anything you need added on, like, dental, vision, obviously that's times three. Every kid you go, it gets a little bit more expensive as it goes on as well.
Not the whole premium.
Not the whole premium.
So, all right, let me ask you, Tyler. Okay, so if I come to you and say, hey, Tyler, I really like what you're saying here, but of course, I don't think that that's actually my budget, right? I can't really swing that monthly premium. What are my options that I have?
Well, I would say we first just need to narrow down, obviously your health conditions. Are you going to be using the insurance very often? Then the second one, obviously I need to know your income, because when it comes to the ACA marketplace plans, these are solely based off your income. So if you're someone, a family of three who makes $40,000, you're probably going to qualify for a tax credit. But if you are someone who, both you guys make, $50,000 and now that's $100,000, well, at that point, you're probably not going to qualify for a tax credit, but it also depends on your family size. So when the family size comes, obviously you're only two people and you make $100,000, but you have a family of like 7 or 8. That's when it's probably going to start changing as well.
Yeah, and so just to give you guys a rough idea now, this is a very generalistic number because it does change it based on zip code and state just a little bit. So really, just so you know, for the average individual, where it kind of ranges at is you have income subsidy limits for the government plans. So for an individual, it's right around, let's say, 45,000, let's just say is a ballpark number. For a family, or for, a couple, right, for 2 individuals, you're looking at closer to 65,000, and then you get to family, 3,000, or 3 people, it gets about 80,000, and it just kind of starts going up from there around 8 to $12,000. So you got to remember that if you're under that amount as far as income goes, you normally can receive some sort of tax credit, which of course is great to pay down your monthly premium. Quick little disclaimer, it does not affect your deductible, so just kind of keep that in mind. That's why Tyler talked about how much you're going to use the insurance. And of course, when it comes to monthly premium, you want to remember this too. For income-based policies, right, the government ACA plans, even if you can get a government subsidy, which a lot of times if somebody has a lot of health conditions, we try to point them in that direction, right? And especially if they can get a good subsidy, right?
The subsidy is obviously the biggest part, but it also depends on your job. What you do. Are you someone who you're expected to make that exact income the next year, or are you going to be someone who's maybe 1099 and it's like, well, this year I did make 40,000 and I did get the subsidy, but I did take that extra one job and it made me 50,000, and it's like, well,
you're gonna lose that subsidy.
You're gonna lose the subsidy.
Now you're gonna lose it, but you might actually have to pay it back as a lump sum at the end of the year.
I had someone owe $20,000 back.
Jeez, that's insane.
Like, just because he went out of state one time, did an extra job, made $1,000 more. $20,000 the next year. Yeah,
so you really want to be careful, obviously. And so that's important to keep in mind when you're looking at ACA government plans is what is your income? The other factor you want to remember is, do you qualify for special enrollment? So I'm not going to go too deep into that, but really it's just a life qualifying event. It ranges a little bit, but just know that if you ever lose coverage or you change states or you had to change in household size, a lot of different life qualifying events, you want to reach out to a state licensed advisor as soon as possible because you only have about 60 days before you can actually enroll in those plans.